Welcome, what it do? Welcome to the Digital Pit Boss. We got a little conversation we're gonna get in today. Talk about Satanism and Blackface. Been watching the House of Consciousness, and we got a new one. His name is Jabari, the Kemetic, the Cometian. He calls himself. He claims to have the truth and claims to be a PhD. He's got a literary degree. He's an author. He's an orator. He's all the classic signs of some fake black power and integration. Now, I know some gonna take offense. I'm sure they're gonna pass the video to him, say, hey man, Pit Boss talking about you over there. This shit is so classic. You're never gonna get anything different. So you'll never get any proper analyzation if he got to face divine prospect. One of the lamest Hebrew Kemetics in the game. He not gonna put no pressure on you. He don't know what he talking about. He waiting on Jesus. A lot of y'all out there having a difficulty understanding why isn't anything working. Well, there's a few things mentioned that we're gonna deal with this cat Jabari as our foundation here as we kind of lay it down. So we can see this classic move by Satanism in Blackface. Now I have a video already entitled that, Satanism in the Conscious Community. I've already outlined how it works. But now they got a more intelligent speaker. In my own humble opinion, he sounds a little gay to me. I'm not saying that he is gay. Just saying he got some sugar in the way he speak. It is what it is. You know, Pitt just gonna drop that shit because I'm almost out of here. I'm almost done with this shit. But I figured if I don't speak up on it, it ain't gonna get pointed out for a year. I'm gonna have to listen to this nonsense seen on the screen. So we're gonna listen to a little audio. You know what I'm saying? Kind of let y'all hear this brother speak. Now, in the audio, we ain't gonna just listen to it continuously. I'll pop around in it, see what he's talking about with it. And basically, you know, he's telling us his background, a little bit how he got to where he's going. Let me show you a picture of him just in case you, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? So he calls himself Jabari. He said that he went to college and he became a Garvey scholar and that he prides himself in research. This is the classic integrationist, talented 10th W.E.B. Du Bois, WD-40 Du Bois approach that they always do. So the question here is, would you rather count on Garvey or Jabari? Since he's making the comparison that he's a Garvey scholar and that he works with research. He's also traveled to Kemetic. Something about traveling there for some reason makes these people supposedly official. And we're going to see. So let's get into some of his audio before I start to shred this shit up a little bit.
But we're going to talk about his trip going to Egypt, and taking his trip to Kemet or whatever y'all want to say. And he got other trips lined up, going to Cambodia, stuff like that. But before we get into that, Brother Jabari, I would like for you to explain your transition. You came up a Catholic, am I right?
Yes.
How tough was that for you when you got this information dealing with ancient Kemet? How tough was you to make that turn, to make that transition? Was you riding the fence for like a couple of years, or did you say, you know what, I'm ready to make that move? How tough was that for you?
First of all, let me say peace to the brother Sarnetta, who has been working, has been toiling for decades. Began to study and research. I began to look at the history of my people because I truly needed to understand. And let me even take a step back. I began this study really in high school. I went to a violently racist high school, Zavarian High School in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, which is it's still around. And going there, I remember that first day. Coming home, I was actually chased to the train station with some of the students calling me nigger. That really was as jarring as a young.
Let me skip around a little bit. We don't want all the intermediate conversation.
Literally storming outside. I went to school in upstate New York, so torrential rains and snow that was not unusual. Went to Cornell University.
No, I do. Till this day, I still do debate with my moms. I talk about Jesus. She ready to kick me out.
She's there 4 or 5 days a week. Sometimes I tease her and I say she goes to church like a Baptist, right? She don't go to church like a Roman Catholic. And so she still has trouble with the fact that this is not my tradition is no longer Christianity. And keep in mind.
Okay, let me just stop it real quick. We're gonna play a little more, but let's deal with this. So his understanding of the Bible came from the Catholic perspective. Now, any researcher doing any kind of simple research would understand that the Catholic paradigm came after Rome had failed and cracked into. The Catholic Church was invented during the Byzantine Empire, 4th century. And they duplicated the Coptic Pope system. By this time, we had 3 different emperors. Constantine, I can get you all the names. I just know about the 3rd emperor. Christianity, this word they like to abuse and generalize, had been adopted by the new empire, the Byzantine Empire. They didn't take on a whole different meaning of the text. So by the time you get to America, if you coming up in the Catholic tradition, I mean, you got a lot of obscure information being taught there. So quite likely, as he would describe in this video, how, he couldn't understand how these black folks sitting around this Catholic priest waiting on Jesus. This is the problem with the church and just in general. They all waiting on Jesus. They don't really read the Bible. Neither does he read the Bible. Neither has he really read Garvey. They asked him about Garvey. His dumb-ass PhD perspective was this. Well, the Bible is all that Garvey had. So I'm not going to persecute him because that's all he had. It's that Satanism. This that Satanism in blackface. See, I didn't ask Sarnetta time and time again. Let me come on your platform and drop some Alice Bailey. Let's talk about that. Alice Bailey and the 10-point plan and the time that she worked for Unico. And she was a head honcho there when Dr. Ben showed up. Let's get down to business. They don't want to see it though. See, he'd rather just go get another narrative. Now, obviously, if this Kemetic Jabari continues to come on the platform, he's not going to offer no new information. He's not going to go past Dr. Ben. You're not going to go past Dr. Clark. You're not going to go past Oswald Kwesi. You're just going to regurgitate what they've already said, confirm it again. So he mentions a few books. And then the books that he mentioned, we're going to get into it. He talks about, I believe it was, let's see. I just know it was, I believe it was John Jackson who wrote the book. And I'm going to play the audio, though. And I'm going to show you. These men are atheists. So you take the perspective of an atheist, we might as well go get a book from the Amun-Ra Squad, Uncle Cat. And whatever the hell he's saying, his perspective, we might as well make that concrete, because of course he's not going to like Jesus. Of course he's not going to like the Bible. He want to talk about Kemet, and he do the classic move. Let's go all the way back. Let's go back 5,000 years ago. Why y'all don't want to go to before the Roman Church, the Roman Catholic Church? Why not go to Kemet before them and see what they was doing? See, one of the things he can't put on camera when he gets to Kemet is he can't walk inside of a temple where they're praying to the philosophy that he has taken. That you can't do in Kemet today. Why? Because the Kemetics themselves shut those temples down. Now, I'm sure you have to agree that the Kemetics of the 1st century, 2nd century, 3rd century had a far greater understanding of the hieroglyphics, far greater understanding of the Kemetic history 2,000 years ago. Way greater understanding than any PhD, any atheist, African spiritualist PhD of today. It's a shame because he flaunts the PhD as though that's supposed to be some narrative that lets us know that your information is accurate. I doubt that. A PhD isn't nothing more than a research degree. Main thing of a PhD is you go publish a book. Now, notice that the information he's going to provide doesn't have any economics built into it, because those literary artists don't have the capacity to build any economics into the information. They're historical researchers, biased historical researchers. What is he going to say about the first and early churches built in Upper Egypt? How's he going to explain that? Is he going to blame that on the Catholic Church? He talks about there were many Jesuses of the day. There's all kinds of anointed people. Were you there? Did you find that in a book? Did an atheist write that book? What are you talking about? What happened to all those Jesuses that you talk about? Where are they? Do you know the legacy of any of those Jesuses? Did any of those Jesuses of the back in the day, did they have any type of great literature that was written about them? Do you know the name of any of those books of them great Jesuses you're speaking of? It's just classic Satanism of the House of Consciousness. Classic. We've seen it before. It's just a new voice. Young Pharaoh's out the door. Sarah Sudan said he's out the door. He need to replace the staff. So now he's found this irritating voice called Jabari, eloquently speaking, backed up by Professor James Small. I'm trying to find a video where they went to this church temple in New York. Now, I pulled up in previous videos the temples that are there that was all reconstructed in the 80s and the 90s. This is when all this stuff came about. And at the hierarchy of these Kemetic temples was homosexuality was being accepted. It didn't have to be public or out in the open. It was just privately accepted. Doesn't matter if you got a wife at home. What you do in the back rooms is your business. This type of shit, the Kemetics don't like to hear, especially coming out of pit boss. My ability to look at this shit and know exactly what I'm looking at is par none. I know exactly the double speak. I did a video about double speak. I hate to have to rehash all this information. It took a long time to lay out 400 videos that had some substance. But I got to lay it down a little bit. I got to put a little narrative in there. I got to institute it because they're carefully trying to reconstruct the Sinetta brand, and it's not going to work. I know exactly how it's going to play out. October 31st, Halloween. The Demons is coming out. By then, the summer done went down. The fall is set in. And everybody's trying to make a new name for themselves. Remember what I tell you. October 31st. The conscious wars is going to erupt. You haven't seen nothing yet. Right now, you just see the confusion. Something about going towards the end of that year. Something about Halloween and the magic that's performed. So let's go on and let's hear a little more of his narrative. I'm going to skip around when he seems to kind of just be, you know, speaking, and I'm not interested in a particular aspect he's speaking on. So let's get it.
I made my transition in my early stages in 1990. So we're talking about a long time. I actually was initiated into the Shrine of Ptah in 1998. I was at a Somerset for several years. So understand that this is...
Hold up. That's the one I was looking for. Oh, hold on. Let's go get it. Let's go get it. I did this one before. The Asar Aset Temple. Hold on real quick. I got to deal with some fake ass nigga in my chat. So he says, Izzy took some shots at you on sucking the dog's dick. I could never go on a man's show after that. We know that Side Izzy's relationship would be, since your shit ain't got shit to do with my show, let me block your ass and get you the fuck up out of here. Real quick on who you calling Izzy. One, me and Izzy talk on the phone. Number one. What he comes on and says on his channel, that's for you dumbasses. What he say to me on the phone is all I need to hear. His entertainment on YouTube. Don't bring that bullshit to my platform. It's as simple as that. I don't got no time for you broke ass niggas. If you want to say something to me, drop $100 in the PayPal so I can pay attention to that shit. Now back to the subject. The shit I'm dealing with right now in this video. Dealing with these bullshit ass fakers. So he said he started off with the Catholic Church. I can easily air out that bullshit. That's just total nonsense. So if that's where you're getting your Bible education, you've already on the wrong foot. You just already twisted. It's easily understood why you would leave the Catholic Church and go into the Satanism of the Kemetic and information. Next, you travel to Asar Aset Temple in New York. Now, this is kind of easy here. Let me get it on Wiki. A second. It's the Asar Aset Society, right? Let me pull this up so y'all can take a look at this while I'm looking at it. See, they ain't nothing new. We already covered all this shit. They just regurgitating Satanists at us over and over and over, trying to make the next one better than the last. So, this is the Asar Set Society. They claim to be Pan-African. The brother is Pan-African, so he says. And it was founded in 1973 by Ra-Un Nefer Aman. Now, this guy, it was a musician. We'll get into him a little later. We just want the breakdown of the temple, the reconstructed temple. This ain't no real temple. This ain't no real Kemetic teaching going on in there. There's no way to do it. It's dead. You can't reconstruct the dead. You can only try. Organizational structures. Each Asar Set Society branch or study group replicates the society structure established by Ra-Un Nefer Amen in New York and falls under the leadership of either a paramount king, a paramount queen mother, or a chiefess. So that's their priest, so you say. So the central to the Assyrian religious system are the 11 divine laws. An important theme of this book is the essence of those 11 laws, and it must be programmed into of the individual through specific meditation techniques. Impressing these laws upon the spirit will ensure that the individual's identity is with his or her true self when he or she is confronted with the challenging situations, rather than the false self-image over the emotions. The proper understanding of the cultivation of the 11 laws consists of the following. All activities in the universe are carried out by energy. The spirit is the energy component of God and all beings. Energy, wherever these universe is governed by these laws, is proven by science. That's that scientific shit from the Satanists of the white people prior to the Dr. Ben era. As an entity of energy, man's spirit, which is in change of the realization of all events in his or her life, psychosocial, is controlled by laws. God's and man's spirit carries out all activity. Now you see they hyphen the word gods because they're dealing with a pantheon of gods. A pantheon of gods. There isn't no one God in this temple. There's no one God in Kemet. They believe in nature, scientifics. Now, how in the hell did they add the Pan-African to it? In the 70s, after the movement of the Black Panther era, up pops the Kemetic Pan-Africans. They had to go to Garvey because they couldn't go before Garvey. They don't know before Garvey. It's too much Bible from Garvey and before. They disregard that though. Because they're Satanists and they're trying to take over the paradigm and turn you into Satanists. It's too easy to match this dude up to Alice Bailey, Ayn Rand, Madame Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley, the free thinkers. It's too easy. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Watch when we get into this information that they over here studying, right? It's too easy. Another important concept in the integrals to the teachings of the Asar Set Society is the man's inner being is a composite made up of the self and not the self. That sounds like some nature boy shit. He ain't far from Nature Boy. Nature Boy is not far from this Satanist bullshit. Same shit. It's too easy to break this shit down. It's not going to change. They're going to continue to find another speaker after Jabari, after the conscious community drills him for about 6 months. He'll be about sick and tired of that shit, and he going to fade on off. He don't want no more. But this is the mission of the Satanist platform, because see, the Kemetics can't come out and just teach a Kemetic paradigm. They don't have one. They have a gumbo pot of Indian yoga and some other shit. A whole bunch of shit makes up what they call the Kemetic teachings. They don't have one math book they can point to that they uncovered out of Kemet. They don't have any engineering books. They don't have any of that. It doesn't exist. That's why they don't have any mechanisms in their literature that can build the stem. This is why they have to refer to Garvey and avoid the Bible as they do it. The Catholic Church, remember, that's his Bible foundation. That's where he became what he calls a Christian. Now, anybody would understand that the Catholics are not Christians. They claim to be, but they are not. Christians is someone who follows Christ. The Catholics have made the Pope Christ. This shit is ridiculous. This is too easy. You shouldn't be a PhD and make these simple mistakes. Divine Prospect could have chopped your head off, but he don't know shit to do it. Y'all definitely not gonna let Pit Boss at it, because that viper tongue I'm gonna just get uneasy in the chair and then just dig down deep and start throwing off the real. Get him all uncomfortable in his chair. So let's go a little further. It says, since spirit is considered not self, man's true self cannot be spirit. Also, even though emotions and sensations belong to the not self and generally represents manifestation of the animal spirit in man, the animal spirit, along with the mental spirit and the divine spirit, represents the triune view of man's being. Boy, these niggas is crazy. So you got, oh my God, this shit is crazy. The animal spirit, the mental spirit, and the divine spirit creates the triune. This is on the Asset Society Wikipedia page. I don't know how concrete this information is, but they know it's here. If it ain't true, they should come over here and change it and make it correct. Anyway, somebody put this shit up here. Therefore, failure to control one's emotions, for example, represents submission to the animal part of being, as well as a waste of one's life, the life force. More Satanism. How much more can we take? Let me get into this. They had let's go to their Facebook page real quick. Oh, they got one of them societies out here in Atlanta, I see. So here we go. This is one of his first trips. These are the Kemetics, Reconstructionists. Little Congo drums. Little mixture of everything. There's nobody in Kemet doing this shit today. None. See this hat he got on? That's the emergence of Lower and Upper Egypt. They playing costume dress up. This shit is not real. Let's see if we can get an about. See what's going on. says 40 years ago in modern Western world, Black people chose to remember the commune around traditional African values, which became a way of life that survived the test of time, flourished into fleeting communities that grew internationally. We come together, the 40 years maturation of millennial of Asar Aset Society International. Thank you, Shakim or Shakam Ra'un Nefer. Amen. For your leadership, your love. See, they didn't fell into this weirdo that popped up in 1973. All of a sudden, they following him. They not following Garvey. This ain't no Pan-African nothing. This is some bullshit. This is some bullshit. All right. Let's go a little deeper. Let's go back to the video. Here's some more audio.
Something that happened yesterday. I've spent now more of my life in this tradition than in the other at this point. And so it's interesting that they're still trying to convert me. When I have a tough day, my mother says, I would pray for you, but you don't accept my prayers. And I say to her, a mother's prayers are the most ardent prayers that you can receive. Pray for me in any language that you will. But it is still a challenge. We're on the phone. She gets quiet and I say, Mom, you're praying for my soul, aren't you? And she says, yes, I'm praying for your soul. Because if you don't know Jesus, then how can you go to heaven? And sometimes I tease her and I say, well, I don't have a problem with Jesus. Depends on which one you're talking about. And that's when she goes crazy because I'm attesting to the fact that there were many saviors and that the earliest description of a savior who dies for us to be able to become the shining being is Asar that comes out of the Kemetic tradition. So it's a challenge. It really is still a challenge.
This is good. And getting to know Brother Jabari. When did you come across the wife, Dr. Anika? When you came across her, was she already conscious? Was she on her way to the road of consciousness? How much work you had to put into her subconsciousness to get her on that level where you was at, my brother?
Right. Anika and I met in college. She's from Brooklyn, right? We literally grew up or were born in the same neighborhood. But my family moved to Queens, but I didn't know her when we were in New York City. I met her at Cornell. And at that point, I'd say that we were both in the revolutionary tradition. We had both been studying at Africana Studies. She was a linguistics major. She approached this from a slightly different place. And because I'm 2 years older than her, perhaps I was a little more connected to the revolutionary tradition than she was. And I was also I definitely was more connected to Kemetic spirituality than she was at the time. But I will say to you that her approach to ancient Kemet came from the language, and she was already preparing to do that when I met her. In fact, that's one of the reasons why that sister opened my eyes, and she was attractive, not just based on her exterior, but also I was attracted by her mind. I was attracted by the way she thinks. I was attracted by her ability to understand situations and to succinctly describe them. And so while she might have been a little bit less connected to Kemetic spirituality than I was at the time, she was already on the runway. You have to convince her. She was already there. And so that was really powerful. And we came together. She stayed at Cornell 2 years after I did. And so my sojourns in New York.
Okay, let me skip into this a little bit more. I want to hear when he kind of really gets into some information.
Powerful figures you have studied: Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, going deep into the history, Booker T, Washington.
That's right.
Who are some of the major figureheads you've been studying deep before you started going deep into Kemet?
Well, I will honestly say that El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, Malcolm X, was in many ways my entree into knowledge. I mentioned that I attended a violently racist high school. And the first book that I read was the autobiography of Malcolm X. It was the book that launched me into attempting to know more about why I was in this situation and about what my actual status was as a human on this planet. And so reading that meant that in some ways I still view myself of a child of Malcolm X. Of Al-Shabazz El-Shabazz. He is of critical importance to me and will continue to be of critical importance to me. From there are those individuals who I knew and individuals who came before me. So the story of Arturo Schomburg, that I take some license with in my book, is also something else that another person that was of critical importance to me. Those scholars that I had an opportunity to actually work with, Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben were also important to me. They were the ones that also gave me entree to some of the other stories of our ancestors. Sometimes I even tell people that this is not something I talk about as much, but I'm also a Harlem historian. I run tours of Harlem. I talk about how Harlem came to be so important for people of African descent. So I studied people like Philip A. Payton, who almost no one knows about. I studied, certainly Marcus Garvey was important. Philip A. Now, here's the deal. I used to, every year I would stand in front of Mana's restaurant on 133rd Street with a picture of Philip A. Payton. And I would say, if you can tell me who this person is, I'll give you $10. I stood there the first time for about 3 hours, and I went home with my $10 in my pocket. The next year I said $20. I still didn't give up my money. The year after that, I said $100. Brother Saul, I didn't even have $100.
You just knew.
I knew that nobody would know who he was. So why is he important? Philip A. Payton almost single-handedly is the individual that brings Black folk to Harlem.
Oh, wow.
He was a gent.
Okay, so we're gonna deal with the Black folks that came to Harlem. This is that point where WB and the Talented 10th movement. I promise you, I'm gonna link this guy straight into the Talented 10th. I promise you, I can link Dr. Clark straight into the Talented 10th. Now I can't wait till he starts to tell us these books that he writing. We're gonna see if your books have any real weight, because I got a book for your ass. I show it all the time. Harold Cruz. Boy, you're gonna have a hard time writing a better book than that. On all these men you mentioned, they all in that book. Digital Pit Boss platform then covered all this shit extensively. They're not aware. I'm not getting tens of thousands of views on a video, but I promise you, I can go back a year ago. All this information, I specifically hone in to the civil rights movement year by year. The spin guard list. I often talk about that list. Those are your Harlem Renaissance era. This is where he's from. See, they like gumbo pot the paradigms. They just throw everything in there. Oh, this guy's important. This guy's important. That guy's important. And they stick in the same era. They never truly bring out their true intentions. So he studies all these men. He gravitates to the Satanists, the atheists, then takes their perspectives, combines them into what he calls the Kemetic movement, reconstruction. But this can't be contested. Sarnetta doesn't want the information contested. He'll have that Bible contested, but not this bullshit. I don't need a PhD to read this information to you, to research this information. That'd be nice qualifications, but not necessary. All you need to do is come up out of a great think tank that understands the direction and the purpose of the information, so that you can come forward and identify what Satanism looks like in blackface. Oh, I hope he tried to deny it. He probably ain't gonna like that word. Try to redefine that word. But ain't no way out of it. Ain't no way out of it. They're very crafty. They double speak constantly. I don't have time to run through this entire video to scrutinize it word for word. But we're going to skip through it a little bit, see where he goes with the conversation. Let's get it.
Cam, that my children should be benighted. My children should be cursed. So that story is offensive. And I think we should see the offensiveness in that story.
And was you trying to get Divine to say that?
No, listen, in the debate, sure.
Was you trying to get Divine to come out and say that? Because he said it behind closed doors with me, but you kept trying to get him to go somewhere. What was you really trying to make clear to the people? And why was you trying to get him to say that?
That's a really good question. And the reason why I fought and really wanted to pin him on that is for two reasons. First of all, we have to understand that the debate was about whether the Hebrew Israelism or Kemeticism are the best ways for Black folks to move forward. So embedded in there, this is supposed to be what's best for Black people. So if you believe that Black people are benighted, are cursed, then you have a problem. Right. Now there's some.
See, that theory in itself is ridiculous. That's some slavery shit. That's some shit the white man slave. How can you be a PhD and make this assumption that somebody believes? Now I understand the goddamn Hebrew Israelites, a couple of the branches teach some shit like that. And this is why they deal with the Hebrew Israelites, because from a Kemetic reconstructed bullshit double speak perspective, you sound intelligent. It sounds intelligent. Now, for anyone to sit here and act like in the slave era of several hundred years, that slaves are some pure anything other than you're going to have sex with who the master tell you you're going to have sex with over several hundred years. These people want to act like they direct descendants from some shit. You're a gumbo pot of African tribes from all over mixed in with some white folks here and there. You came out on the other side, African Americans, Negroes, coloreds. You were distinguished from the other tribes in Africa. You became a new tribe. Call yourself what you will. But you are no longer what you were prior to slavery. Not if you're just looking at the fact of your father's father and your mother's mother. You're no longer that. You're a mixed multitude of people. You're a new tribe. Better get you a name and run with it. But you're damn sure not a Commission. You damn sure can't prove you're a Hebrew Israelite. The false narrative that's been running since the 60s. And now this Kemetic shit running since the 70s. All stemming back from Dr. Ben. Wait till I drop this goddamn Alice Bailey and show you. Alice Bailey was a head honcho. They were to promote other types of religions, to go up against Christianity in America, to bring down the force of Christianity. Up pops this Kemetic reconstruction bullshit sent out by Alice Bailey, a Dr. Ben. Oh, I got some hit rocks for their PhD ass. Put this in your book. Humanitarianism, culturalism. They come up with, I come out of African spirituality, some more bullshit set up and created to try to bring down the church power. And that's just on the black side. We got 100 more on the white side. Then the Christians start developing non-denominational churches. Who in the hell had a denomination to begin with in order to create a non-denominational? White people create all that shit. That shit ain't in the Bible. Ain't no Baptists in the Bible. Ain't no Pentecostals in the Bible. Ain't none of that shit in the Bible. Where that shit come from? That came out of that Catholic Church system that Jabari comes from. These guys are just simple Satanists and blackface. They don't have anything to present except that the Bible is the white man's book. That's not African. That's what they got to present. But they don't want to deal with them Coptics. I heard Amin-Ra dumbass, crazy ass, tell me them wasn't black folks by then. They were mulattoes. How did 10 white people come in and turn 10 million black people into mulattoes? And if that's the case, why in the hell ain't Americans mulattoes? The African Americans. The narrative is ridiculous. This is why pit boss can't get on that platform to bust that shit up. I come on violently spewing the truth. So we got a Garvey scholar. Wait till he do some Garvey shit. And we start questioning him about that Bible and Garvey. This is why in the Blackface video, I had to play Garvey. So you can once again hear Garvey crush these niggas. These are real black crackers coming out of the Harlem Renaissance, a gay order of intellectuals, the 10 percenters. This shit is wicked. It's just real wickedness. Let's dig a little further in this damn video.
When you gain a lot of knowledge, what is arrogance? The first principle in Maxim Batahotep is do not be arrogant with your wisdom. The greatest wisdom is found amongst the women who toil at the grindstone, who make bread every day. That was menial labor. And they're saying the greatest wisdom is found amongst these ladies. And this gets me to another key point, Brother Sa. If you think that you have divine wisdom, where are your women? The Kemetic tradition articulates a rightful role of women.
Now that was a lie right off the muscle. The Kemetic tradition. There is no Kemetic tradition. You guys made it up. You reconstructed some shit. You don't have a tradition. Now you want to say the American Reconstruction tradition? Some shit you made up? Now you're making that tradition? Now you're following the Kemetic order of Amin-Ra from 2,000-3,000 years ago? Are you really doing that? They don't want to explain why the Kemetics of the first century shut that shit down. Explain why they shut their own shit down. And you picked it up 2,000 years later. See, he said he's in college before he even really comes into this type of knowledge. And then Malcolm X, that's your flow? Okay. We gonna see. I'm sure he's be on SciNet dropping some more shit. I'm sure somebody gonna slowly get the word back to him. Oh man, you got Pit Boss on your line. SciNet gonna hit me after he talked to him thoroughly, after he go run over there to E41. E41 be like, nigga, beware of that Pit Boss nigga. He got a thunderbolt in his back pocket. And if you bring it out, I'm gonna hit you with some shit y'all don't talk about. You hear SciNet whisper that Booker T to him, they gotta shake their head now. They never talked about Booker T ever before I showed up. Ever. It was unheard of in this conscious community. I was paying attention. But he's unaware. He's not part. He's part of the Oscar set and whatever else he graduated into. I'm sure it looked kind of fly on the outside. Got some fresh wardrobe. Be rocking them house coats, them house slippers with cane, with an unk cane. Ain't mad at that. They made dumbass Divine Prospect hold that on. He's sitting there looking like, oh, don't make me look stupid. Okay, I'll look stupid. They working him. He's a softie. They gonna get his ass back in one of them temples on a late night orgy party off that motherfucking Asaga shit. I mean that Asaka shit that they be over there smoking on with Nature Boy. Get his mind gone. Boy, next thing we know, he wearing an unk. He got an unk around his chest, denouncing the Hebrew Israelites. Watch. One day, Divine Prospect gonna denounce the Hebrew Israelites commission. They gonna have his ass. They gonna have his ass. Literally. I'm trying to tell you. I'm almost kind of getting tired of talking about the shit. I think I might end my show early. Before I do, we'll let him get a little more. I'm just skipping through the video. I just wanted to play him and introduce him a little bit. Let's hit it. Let's get it.
The British Museum, which you know we just came back from. Anik and I went to the British Museum to look at those artifacts. And the Louvre in Paris. You have a museum in your backyard. Go take a look at your excellence, Africans. I think that when you see your excellence, it will be hard for you to claim other traditions. You should understand those traditions are a subset of our knowledge and what we brought forward to the world.
Now, if one would like to join you on this journey, is it too late? Should they wait for next year?
We have a few seats. We have a few seats for Egypt if you still want to come. And I'm saying Egypt because I'm talking about that modern place. We have a few seats left for our Egypt tour. When I say a few, I'm saying a handful. So really, if you wanted to go, you should contact us immediately. Send me an email at info@centerformaat.com or go to our website at centerformaat.com and you'll be able to get more information on that. You need to contact us immediately. The Ethiopia trip, we're just being able to see people. So you need to see Ethiopia. Ethiopia is another place where we did magnificent things in the ancient world. You're going to see the stone carved churches that were carved out of one block, one piece of bedrock going down into the ground. You have to see what Africans are capable of in order to understand what we're capable of here. You know that sometimes in our communities, and
what is he coming with some new knowledge to the conscious community? Is he talking about the cross church in Ethiopia? Is this some new shit? He has nothing new he can produce. He can only regurgitate the shit that's already been said. Everything the Kemetic reconstructionist got to say done been said. It's 10,000 videos on this shit online. Let me do a really quick intermission for some bitch ass nigga name real quick. I hate that we having to do this shit, but these niggas, you can't get enough of these niggas. Jay Weisner. Why don't you just ask for the motherfucking link, nigga? Email me, 99lightyears@gmail.com. If I see a goddamn email from your punk ass, I'll send you the link. And let's see if your punk ass want to come on here and talk that shit. You be talking in the goddamn. Nobody can see your goddamn post because I done blocked your punk ass. I don't got time to listen to no fake ass YouTube channels. Nigga, if you got an issue, nigga, do a video about the shit. Send me the video. Let me watch your ridiculous ass trying to break some shit down. The conscious community, if y'all want to restore your shit, you got to block all these bullshit, fake ass channels and bitch ass niggas like Kev Gills out your shit. If you don't do that, then fuck you. It's that simple coming from pit balls. Don't trip. I got some other shit to do. Conscious community. Go get some real paper away from y'all niggas. Now back to the subject so I can be done, because it's already giving me a headache talking about this Satanism all goddamn day. But the brother goes on to introduce no new information because they're historians and all the motherfucking history been told. They don't have any methodology they're going to come with. They don't have any science they can present because the shit they learn is just history. And we heard all that shit. We got all those books. So come with some new shit, Jabari. Instead of all that bullshit. I'm done with this show. I'm tired of talking about these black Satanists. I don't even think y'all give a shit anyway. I just be doing it for the record. So I can pull this shit up on somebody 6 months from now. Be like, yeah, I talked about that dude. Let me show you. He was a Satanist then. He's a Satanist now. And if you ever, Jabari, hear this video and you want to defend your position, I'm going to send you the goddamn link. Or are you just an attention whore? And you're only going to come on the channel with 10,000 views. That might be your situation. But if you think you know some Garvey and all that other shit, and you really think you know some Bible coming up out the Catholic Church, man, you better go study preterism before you walk over here. You better get a full understanding of what that is. But we ain't talking the same Bible information, I promise you. But until then, this is Digital Pit Boss, biatch.